Larry, we mentioned last podcast that I was a cord cutter, which, in case some listeners aren't familiar with the term, means I got rid of my satellite TV service, and in some cases that could be cable or whatnot. And I went to strictly over-the-air TV and internet-based TV. That's all I watch.
That's something I've toyed with myself, but I haven't pulled the trigger on it.
It has been very freeing. It serves me well. But I got a lot of joy out of it when I called to cancel my service with my satellite company, who will remain nameless. What I remembered was when I first got it, when I first signed up for the service, they screwed me over. And basically it was a billing dispute. But of course, I'm not going to go into the details of it, but of course, there was really nothing I could do about it. You sign a contract, and they're not. I had no recourse basically.
Yeah, there's not much thinking involved in that. Oh, and speaking of thinking, hey, it's time for unclear thinking. In case you folks hadn't figured it out, it's time to do that again. So that's Anthony Goodrow over there telling me all this stuff, and I'm Larry Smoke, the same old crew as always. And I'm interrupting. I'm sorry. Pray tell, continue.
Absolutely, no problem. But the cherry on top of the complaint turned nasty exchange between myself and their customer disservice rep was when I gave up. I finally just decided I can't win this. There's no way I can win this. It's a couple of dollars. I'm locked in for 2 years. I took it like a dissatisfied consumer.
Disservice rep. I get it now. You funny. Disservice rep. That was witty.
That's what I'm all about. Her last words on our phone call when I decided to give up were, of course, "Have a nice day," which she said with
the
worst kind of attitude.
Yeah.
She was glad to get rid of me off the phone.
Yeah.
It was like it was required by company policy to say that, but she let her intent be known. But that burned me up.
As well it should.
Because one of my greatest personality flaws is to not to let anything go. that comes to my mind a lot of times when people say that innocently to me now.
So that gets you dander up.
Not all the time, but every once in a while I will think of that exchange and I go back to hating that company again. But as adults, we have a lot of rote phrases like that when we try to just communicate casually, like "How are you?
Yeah.
How's it going? What's up?" That sort of thing. Questions that really don't need an answer most of the time, but that's just how we kind of communicate.
It kind of makes me wonder. We all do it. Well, I say we all. I actually try not to. I'm enough of a, I started to say I was enough of a realist, but I guess the rest of society would say I'm enough of a jackass. That if I don't really want to know the answer to the answer, I'm not going to ask the question. But for hundreds, if not 1,000 years, yeah, you're right. Society is we all. How are you? Fine. And you? And not only did the first person not really give a crap how you are, you're not even fine. But if you say something, right? But if you say something else, you're rude because the other person doesn't want to know how you are. So, and how did we as a society get into this illogical cycle that we all accept as proper manners now? It boggles my mind.
I think part of it has to do with the fact that some of us we want acknowledgement, maybe on a certain level. You see somebody, and rather than just blow them off, and you don't want the person to think you're rude, and what else? Well,
since when is hi considered rude? Isn't that enough? Hi, or is it at some level we just all feel that's not enough? And if it's not enough, why isn't it enough? Or am I thinking about this too hard? Well, most people would say I'm thinking about it too hard because for 1,000 years we've been doing it this way.
We all think too hard about that.
Bitch.
And if you think about it, we didn't communicate like this when we were kids. I remember we had a running joke in high school with some friends of mine, and one in particular I'll give a shout out to if that's okay.
Yeah.
A potential listener, my good friend Dalton Adden. I just remember her specifically in this joke, but a lot of people did it. We had a lot of teachers that were the old. I don't want to say old, because they were probably our age back then. but the elderly
Well, that makes
Southern
them
Belle
old.
types, or at least they tried to come across that way in their niceties. But we kind of made fun of them in the way we would hear them talk to each other. So in a sort of a mocking way, whenever we'd see each other, even if it was the 10th, 20th time we'd see each other that day, in our best genteel Southern voices, we'd say, "How you doing?" And the other person would say, "Fine." And it was like, "Good. How you doing?" Say, "Fine." We go, "Good, good, good," and we just keep doing that over and over.
Carry on
Until
a
the person got
5-minute
tired of saying
conversation and not say anything but those 5 words.
it. And we just got a kick out of that for whatever reason. So as adults, have we regressed to the mean socially?
I don't know about regress, but shoot, some of us, all of us are trained that way. How many instances in popular fiction or other can you think of? And I can think of a handful off the top of my head of depictions of instructors of etiquette telling some young malleable soul that now the proper initiation of the proper greeting is, "How are you today?" And the proper response is, "I am fine, and how are you?" And any other response would be considered rude. I read David McCullough's famous biography of Harry Truman, and there was a passage in there with that just about exact same scenario. I saw a movie last night, The Imitation Game, that's in theaters now with Benedict Cumberbatch, and there are two characters, and of course this is World War II time frame. So, but I can easily see it happening now. A handful of characters about to go to lunch, and they look to Benedict Cumberbatch's character and say, "We're going to lunch." And you know that to a quote-unquote normal person, that's a question, "Would you like to join us for lunch?" And Cumberbatch's character is this super genius mathematician. Well, he sits there in silence, and the other characters repeat, "Yeah, we're going to lunch. We're going to lunch." And finally, one of them says, the character's name is Alan. "Alan, can you hear us?" And he says, "Yes, quite well." "Well, why didn't you respond?" "Well, you didn't ask me a question." And I kind of looked over at my wife for a second, and spouses can communicate telepathically. So I looked at her, and with my eyes, I said, "That makes perfect sense." And she said telepathically back to me, "Well, you're a social jackass, so of course you'd think that."
Well, that's how I would take it. I mean, I can't disagree with
Well, that's why you and I are such good friends, because we're both social jackasses.
Well, I think about where I work. I'm around a bunch of engineers. If anybody is not up on their social graces, and I hate to put it that way, I don't even know if that's accurate or not.
It's
but
accurate.
The engineer types, they tend to be introverted, and I'm introverted, so I can kind of see. I certainly see where they're coming from. But you pass certain personalities going down the hall, and they will do anything but look at you in the eye or say anything. And some people I've heard, "Well, that guy's an asshole," or maybe I should say, "That guy's a jackass." Look how rude he is. He won't speak to me. Well, he just doesn't see any point in it, I guess. But
There's not a reason to at that moment.
No, I mean, in certain ways, it kind of lets me off the hook sometimes for not saying something that waste my time. Like, especially if it's the third or fourth time I've passed that person in the hall. Is there really a need to say, "How's it going?" Or God forbid, "Working hard" or "hardly working"? Something asinine like that. I mean, of course, you remember the old Budweiser commercial that ran forever, where the guys just went back and forth to each other saying, "Wah-ha-ah."
Oh, yeah.
I think that was the charm of that commercial, was because it was a new way to have that greeting.
A variation on a theme.
Right, and that's that golly, it got to the point where you wanted to beat the next person that said it aloud there for a while. At least I did. But there was a reason it had a lasting impact, a cultural impact, because it, in an odd way, kind of addressed that, whether that was the intention or not.
Well, when that campaign was getting to the point where they were beating the proverbial dead horse, and they did the handful of commercials with the white guys, and they were doing it literally. "What is up?" Or, "That is correct." I like those better. But I digress. I'm sorry.
But probably one of the most uncomfortable situations where I deal with this is at family gatherings. I, I tend to enjoy the family members where you just walk in or you see them somewhere and you just start talking.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you just pick up on a conversation that you know they'll get because you know them, and you just start talking.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really critical that you know how they're doing or they know how you're doing. But you've got, I don't know about you, but I've got certain family members that I just know what's coming out of their mouths,
Mm-hmm.
and it's their signature greeting,
Mm-hmm.
like, "So what's going on?"
Mm-hmm.
And my wife and I have this running joke where we go to a family gathering, and it's like, "How long before so and so says that?" And I know I can, you feel when you're kind of in a room and you're kind of gravitating intentionally or otherwise toward that person, you know it's coming, you can feel it,
Mm-hmm.
and there it comes, and I always make eye contact with my wife. There it is. And we
Oh,
always have
so
this
you
little
and your
joke.
wife have telepathy too.
Oh, to a certain degree, yes. Not as, sometimes on my end, not as much as she thinks I do. On my end, not as much as she often thinks
Well,
I
of
do,
course,
but
the
I
woman's
play
powers
along.
are always greater than the man's. I mean, that just goes without
Yeah,
saying.
much greater. So, and a lot of times, like I said, I'm just kind of playing along. But that's one we know. And and a lot of times it really doesn't matter what my answer is. It means they're going to tell me what they're doing, and I'm going to get in some long, boring story about what's going on in their lives, as if I asked what was going on with them. But I'm just antisocial,
Well,
I guess.
maybe blood is the differentiating factor. Maybe if someone is blood related to you, it's okay to actually answer that question. Whereas if there's no genetic similarity with the between the asker and the answerer, then the only proper answer would be fine, even if it's a bald faced lie. I'm theorizing.
It seems plausible to me. But I'm getting to the age where I almost, in certain situations, want to play off the question of how are you with. Actually, my back hurts today. My feet have really been giving me a fit lately. Had a headache all night long, so I didn't sleep very well. And I've got an ingrown toenail, and that's about it for now. How are you?
But that's
So,
rude. That's rude. That's the incorrect answer. You can't actually give them information they asked for. No. Yeah, so that was another. There's another cinematic reference, and of course everybody's seen this landmark piece of cinema, Charles Bronson's Kinjite, Forbidden
that's in my top
Subjects.
10.
There you go, 1982. There's a scene in that flick where Charles Bronson is explaining to this Japanese policeman who's come over to the States on some kind of liaison work, and he's explaining to the Japanese fellow, now, when you greet someone, the proper way to begin to make the greeting is by asking, "How are you?" Let's role play a bit. And Bronson says, "How are you?" And the Japanese police says, "Well, today I am in somewhat of distress." And Bronson quickly, "No, no, no, no. The only proper response is, 'I am fine, and how are you?'" And the Japanese man is perplexed. "Well, why is that?" And Bronson says, "It just is. Just go with it. Take my word for it." Sorry, there it is. It's out there. We all acknowledge that it's BS, and we all do it. Why?
That's that's pretty accurate cross cultural etiquette school right there, because that is
I
how we
think
do
I've
it.
read somewhere that Europeans are perplexed by that when Americans ask that question of a European. The European will kind of stop for a second. Well, okay, I'm so, and then the Americans get this funny look, uncomfortable look on their face because, well, I don't really want to know this, but you asked for it. It's my German ancestry rearing up, is what it is. And we started this diatribe on "Have a nice day." I mean, we've worked it down to people asking questions to which they don't really want an answer. Getting back to that idea, "Have a nice day" as a kiss off. It's just like "How are you?" It's another example of the things that people say that they have no real meaning behind. It's not even just the thought that they don't mean it. When someone tells you "Have a nice day." Well, why are you commanding me to do such a thing? Wouldn't it be much more polite to express the hope that I can make my own day nice?
Or maybe I don't want to have a
Oh,
nice
right.
day.
I mean, who are you to tell me what kind of day to have, jackass? I,
Get out of my business.
and yeah, calm down. Let me calm down a second. I really do try in my daily life to make a point of not saying things like, have a nice day. I really try to make a point of saying, I hope you have a good time doing so and so. I hope you have a good trip. So I want it to be my expressing a wish, a hope for the listener, the person to whom I'm directing this sentiment. I want them to know that I have great hope that they will have a positive outcome of whatever it is. And someone tells you you're getting ready to leave. Someone says, be safe. Well, darn, did you think I was going to run down the street naked, covered in grease and ground glass or something? I mean, what did you think? Of course I'm going to be safe. And I hope you're okay out there. People drive crazy. I hope things are fine.
I was gonna slalom the dotted center line on the interstate on the way home in my car at 100 miles an hour, but
since you told me not to.
So I think what you're saying is not only do we not know how to say hello to each other, we don't know how to say goodbye either.
Correct. And again, I'm sure people have the grandest of intentions. We both live in the deep South where any nasty, rotten thing you say about somebody is instantly forgiven if you close the diatribe with, bless their heart. So we all know about people saying meaningless things. Don't we live in an enlightened enough age? Hasn't mankind evolved and progressed to the point where we can finally be honest with each other? You can be polite and greet someone and bid them farewell and at least say it in a way, if not factually correct, at least has the proper sentiment, that it's not empty, hollow, rote, stereotypical, expected of you because your great-grandmother taught you to do it this way. I mean, haven't we gotten to that point yet?
No, what's wrong with bye now?
You're right. I mean, what's wrong with hello and goodbye? Those are both goodbye. I mean,
Probably the most awkward is something like I'm maybe at the store or something, and they say, "Okay, see you later." What? No, I probably won't see you later. But that's just it's one of those things where you catch yourself saying, or you hear people say, that just kind of proves it doesn't really mean anything because they're used to it as a way of disengaging from a conversation.
I could even forgive "see you later." At least in that there might be, although you could spell it out, there might be the hope to see you again. Hope it's not too long before we cross each other's path. I mean, I don't mean literally that long a sentence, but and of course maybe I'm answering my own rant that all of these things we've been saying that people say, there's supposed to be a subliminal message in there. But I don't give people in general enough credit for having the goodwill behind those hollow platitudes that the positive subliminal message is there. I don't think people have that much care and concern in what they say. They just say it because it's what you're supposed to say. And that's what's eating at my craw about all this. If you have something to say, you should mean what you say.
And they've said it over and over and gotten away with it for years, and they've never had us to call them on it.
Amen to that. And that's why we do this show, people, as a public service to an improved, genial society. That's why we do it. I'm pointing at the camera for the video portion of the show, which there is none, so of course you can't see it.
But that's what we do. That's what we're here for. We're here for you, the listener. And as all you loyal Unclear Thinkers know, episodes and show notes can be found at unclearthinking.com, as well as links to the show sites on iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube. And you can find us on Facebook. We have an Unclear Thinking page there. And on Google+, just search for us there under Unclear Thinking. And, of course, we're always on Twitter. I am at Anthony Goodrow, and Larry is at LA Smoke.
Yes, I am.
And that's how you find us.
Just everywhere. We're like a virus. We're everywhere. We're like the flu this winter. We're everywhere.
And there is no vaccination from us.
No. And if you do have the flu, we will not command you to feel better or get well like some people do. We'll express our hope and desire that you recover and regain your sense of health. Is that better? That makes sense, don't you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we want all of you to feel better, but only if you want to.
Yeah, it's not a command. It's a genuine wish.
Just if you feel like it.